Thank you very much, and I'd like to thank the Honourable Member for Brecon and Radnorshire for setting out her stall for her own constituency, and she's been a strong advocate in the short time she's been here for her constituents. I also want to thank my colleague from Inverness, Nairn, Badenoch and Strathspey and the Backbench Business Committee for granting us this time to discuss this fundamentally important issue, because it's difficult to think of an area of Scotland's economy which hasn't benefited from structural funds, and my constituency of Glasgow Central is no exception in that. Being part of the EU has been beneficial to Scotland in many ways, just as it has been to Cornwall, as the Honourable Members for North Cornwall and Truro and Falmouth set out, and to Wales, as the Honourable Member for Arthur and for other constituencies has set out as well. And there is no doubt that communities will be poorer as the result of leaving the EU, culturally, socially and economically. Organisations in Glasgow Central have received over £241 million in European structural funds since 2014, according to figures from the House of Commons Library. Madam Deputy Speaker, the aims of European structural funds are closely aligned with those of the SNP to grow the economy while tackling inequalities. Our own Madam Acost, Winnie Ewing MEP, fought for European funds when Westminster got their sums wrong and tried to deny that to the Highlands of Scotland. The Scottish Government have set out a programme of sustainable inclusive growth in their national performance framework and have been working as a responsible government to improve outcomes across a range of indicators, and it's extremely important that any replacement fund does not diverge from the aims of our inclusive growth strategy. European structural funds have been vital in the delivery of inclusive growth in Scotland. The European Social Fund has been used to increase the skills available in Scotland's labour market and helping to lift people out of poverty into increased social inclusion. ERDF is supporting small and medium-sized enterprises and is investing in Scotland's transition to a low-carbon economy. And there's still a lot to be done in tackling inequality, and we cannot let these issues be overshadowed by the process of Brexit. The Scottish Government values the European structural funds dearly, not just because of the monetary value, but because we have a shared vision of what we can achieve when used in a strategic way. And I'm just not convinced that the UK Government shares this vision. I agree with the Honourable Member for Ellesmere Port and Neston that local areas do not want handouts on Westminster terms. And it's difficult for anybody in Scotland to know precisely what the UK Government's intention is here. We've been waiting an inordinate amount of time for details on the UK Shared Prosperity Fund. From the 2017 Tory manifesto to now, we still don't know. And the Honourable Member for Ayr Carrick and Cumnock himself called it skeletal. I think skeletal is being generous, quite frankly. And it's not a trivial amount of money we're dealing with here. Third sector organisations need to know what their future will be, and they are delivering vital services in our communities. And the Honourable Member for Aberavon, through the APPG, set out well the questions that he and his APPG have been seeking, and the lack of answers and the lack of clarity that we still shockingly have. We need to know how the new fund will be drawn and whether there will be criteria, for example, which would allow for treatment of contaminated land, such as in Shawfield and the Clyde Gateway area. Programmes in decontamination are crucial to development, but can't go forward until that funding is secured. Opportunities to clarify matters have come and gone, with the spending review just yesterday failing still to address this issue. These are vital funds, and many of the organisations doing valuable work are mitigating some of the worst successes of this UK Tory government. The Tory benches across the way could barely be providing a better argument for Scottish independence. We are once again seeing a tale of two governments, with the Scottish Government working to increase equality and to grow the economy in a sustained and sensible way, with the UK Government hell-bent in pursuing a hard exit from the EU without adequate preparation of what will come next. The UK Government has been clear, the Scottish Government has been clear on the 5 key principles that they would like any new funding scheme to adhere to. First, there should be no reduction from the level of funding that Scotland currently receives from the EU. Secondly, the devolution settlement must be respected, and there must be no reduction in powers from what the Scottish Parliament currently has. Thirdly, the Scottish Government should be an equal partner in the development of the Shared Prosperity Fund. And the Honourable Member for Oakland South Perthshire let the cat out the bag here by talking about the bypassing of the Scottish Government. The bypassing of the Scottish Government. Fourthly, he's had his say.
I did not say bypassing the Scottish Government. I specifically said, Madam Deputy Speaker, I'm sure Hansard will repeat this, I said guarantee the £1.2 billion plus inflation, plus an additional fund that could be administered centrally so they could work together in partnership, which is what our constituents want, is devolution plus central government in a united kingdom.
He is talking about a United Kingdom system here. He is talking about the UK choosing Scotland's priorities, and that is not what our communities deserve. That is not devolution, and it does not respect the devolution settlement, and he knows that just fine. Fourthly, the current level of flexibility in allocation of funds should not be reduced. And fifthly, that the replacement scheme should be operational in time to be implemented in early 2021, so that communities and organisations and businesses in Scotland do not lose out on much needed funding. There must not be any gap, and the Minister needs to be able to guarantee that there will be no gap today.
Will my honourable friend give way?
I will, absolutely.
With the threat of actually being out in literally a matter of weeks, is it not that a gap is inevitable if we're only talking about the end of 2021?
I agree with my honourable friend. The gap is inevitable. We do not know what's going to happen here. And the UK Government cannot tell us what's going to happen next week, never mind in 2021. We cannot believe anything that this Government tells us on these commitments. So I want to ask the Minister today, will he commit to giving the principles of the Scottish Government the due consideration that they deserve? Because the people of Scotland didn't vote for any of this Brexit mess and should not lose out on funding as a result. Scotland has benefited from EU funds while the UK Government looked the other way, from the Keswick Bridge to inequalities, education and industry. Will he guarantee here today that Scotland will not have one penny less under his shared prosperity fund than we would have received under the EU?
Hear, hear.
Shadow.